One day I was at church and the pastor was like, "Is your life pleasing to God?" And I felt convicted and I was like, is my life pleasing to God? And I was just thinking about things in my life and I'm like, the first thing that came to me was my language. I started thinking about something else. I'm like, my relationship. I'm with a woman right now. So then I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna see what the Bible has to say about this. So I read my Bible and I read homosexuality for the first time. And I'm like, oh my goodness, we have a problem here. If I believe one thing and then I don't believe something else because it fits my feelings, then why am I believing in it in the first place? My name is Carissa. I'm 22 years old. I'm from Jersey City, New Jersey, and this is my testimony. Growing up, I grew up in a Christian household, wasn't able to celebrate things like Halloween. I didn't know what a relationship with God was like. I did know about God and I knew about stories about God, like Adam and Eve, but I didn't know what a relationship with God was like. So growing up, my parents were married and we went to church every Sunday. We didn't celebrate Halloween, but at the age of 9 is when they went their separate ways, and that was the first time I felt hurt in my life. And my mom, we didn't really go to church after that. And when we finally did go back to church, it was like something was missing. And every time I would go to church, I would just cry and I didn't know why. And it was because I was missing my dad and us being a family. So after that, I told my mom, I was like, "Ma, I don't really want to go to church anymore." I was around the age of 13. And that's when I first entered middle school. And I had same-sex attraction. And it started from preschool, but once I got to middle school is when I really started acting on it. I came out to my friends, and eventually my mom found out, and that's when our relationship just crumbled. We were fighting every day. I ran away from home because it just felt like I was doing something that was so bad, and I didn't understand why my mom was so mad at me for this. So our relationship was really shaky. Once I got to high school, around junior year, is when she kind of just let me do my own thing. And our relationship started to get better. I went off to college. I ended up in a 5-year relationship with a woman. So the 5-year relationship that I was in started when I was about 16 years old. It lasted through college up until my sophomore year. We had all these plans that we were going to stay together forever. And in that relationship, now that I look back at it, she was kind of like my idol. Like anything I needed, anything, I would just go to her. Any problem I have, I would just go to her. And she gave me that comfort. And that was a problem, which why it was so heartbreaking when I had to end things, because now I needed something to fill that void. It was temporary. And, you know, when I was with her, I wasn't a good person. I had a lot of anger. I was controlling at times. And my attitude wasn't the best. And I did have some guilt when things ended about some of the ways I treated her. Even though the relationship was sinful, I just feel like my character, I was like very controlling sometimes. And the relationship wasn't toxic, but it did have some moments of like abuse, of us like fighting each other, and it wasn't good. Once I got to college, that's when my life started to change. I also played basketball, and it got to the point where I didn't know if I was going to be able to continue playing basketball or not, due to me not having looks from recruits. And I would tell my mom, like, "Mom, I don't know, like, what am I going to do without basketball?" And that was my whole identity. My whole identity was in sports. And my mom was like, you know, just keep praying to God. And I was like, praying to God, like I didn't know how to do that. And I would have friends and they would tell me, you need to just manifest, just write it down, write it on a piece of paper, burn it, and, you know, speak it into the universe. And I was trying that and it just wasn't working. So my mom, when I talked to her, she was like, you know, just pray to God and everything is going to work out. So I started journaling. I didn't know anything about God, but I started journaling and I would be like, dear God, just thank you for this day. I pray that you would place me at the school that I need to be. And it was getting down to about August, and I still haven't found a school to go to play basketball. And I was really stressed. And my mom had found a church, and she was like, I found a new church. We're learning a lot. And something in my spirit, I just felt the urge to go to church. And I was like, I need something different in my life. I need a change. So I decided to go to church, and I liked it. And then I received a recruiting look from a school 7 hours from home. And I didn't really want to go because I had to pay loans and I didn't want to be in debt. So I was like, Mom, this is the only option that I have. So I'm just going to take it. So after that, I traveled 7 hours to my school, and that was the first time I was away from my family, and I was finally on my own. And, I got to the school, things slowly started not to work out, and I was like, man, what am I going to do? If I quit the team, I'm not going to have basketball anymore. I worked so hard to get here. And one night I couldn't sleep. And I was just thinking, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And something kept telling me, just quit the team. You have to quit the team. And I was like, what is that? That's not me saying that, because I would never want to quit the team. And I was like, what am I going to do? So the next day, I decided to tell my assistant coach, I'm done. I don't want to play here anymore. And before I could even tell her, she told me, you know what? I think you should quit. Things aren't looking too good with your play time. I don't really think you're going to play that much here. So I think you should quit. And I was like, that's crazy, because I was just about to tell you that I'm leaving. I'm not going to play anymore. So after that, I was able to go home for winter break now because I wasn't on the team. And I surprised my mom. And the next day after I got home, I got into a car accident. It was raining. My car hydroplane, it spun out of control, and I hit this banister, and I wasn't injured or anything, thank God. And my mom was literally 2 minutes away from when it happened. And my mom doesn't usually eat McDonald's, but that day she happened to be at the McDonald's literally 2 minutes away from where I had the accident. So I went to my mom, I drove over there, and she was happy that I was okay. But now I was thinking, how am I going to get back to school to finish my semester 7 hours away from home if I don't have my car? So I end up finding a way to get some money to get it fixed, get the car fixed. Now I go, something keeps telling me, get a wheel alignment. I go to get the wheel alignment, and they tell me, this is not the only thing that's wrong with your car. The brakes are bad, there's leaks. You're not going to make it 7 hours. It's very dangerous for you to go and drive this 7 hours. So I was just stuck. I'm like, God, what is going on? So then I had a friend who she was telling me, you can come to my school and stuff like that. And I was like, I don't really know about that too much because, I want to play. I want to play basketball. She was like, just come to the game, see what it's like. And it was in my hometown. So I went to the game, and I ended up seeing the coach from my hometown there. And he knew me prior, but he wasn't really trying to recruit me. So that day he was like, why are you here? Why aren't you at school? And he was like, you could come here and play. And I was like, what? From my hometown? I could play basketball? He was like, yeah, you could transfer next semester. You could play right away. And I was like, what? God. I was like, what? This has to be God. So I went back to school. I ended up taking a train home, and I finished up my semester. And now I was back home, and now I started going to church every single Sunday. And I remember one day I was at church, and the pastor was like, is your life pleasing to God? And I felt convicted, and I was like, is my life pleasing to God? And I was just thinking about things in my life, and I'm like, the first thing that came to me was my language. Every other word was a curse word. I would curse, listen to rap songs, cursing. And I was like, I got to change my language. This is not okay. So then I started thinking about something else. I'm like, my relationship. I'm with a woman right now. So then I'm like, you know what? I'm going to see what the Bible has to say about this. So I read my Bible, and I read homosexuality for the first time. And I'm like, oh my goodness, we have a problem here. And I was like, what am I going to do? And then I was thinking, if I believe one thing and then I don't believe something else because it fits my feelings, then why am I believing in it in the first place? It's not going to make sense if I believe one thing and don't believe everything together. So I started to go on Reddit. I'm like, can you be gay and Christian? I'm looking at all these things and I'm trying to find somebody saying yes. And I couldn't find that answer. And I was like, what am I going to do? I was reading people were saying how they left their same-sex relationships and how they were heartbroken and all this. And I didn't want to feel that heartbroken. I wanted to escape that. I wanted it to just be good. Like I just leave and then I'm good. But I decided, I have to do this because the conviction was so strong. I wasn't comfortable around her. I knew it wasn't pleasing to God, and I was feeling so close to God. I'm like, I have to live right. So I decided I was going to leave her, and I had a game that day, and I was on the bench, and I was just dreading it. I'm like, tonight I have to tell her that, I can't be in this relationship anymore. And my coach puts me in the game, and I freeze up. In the middle of the game, I freeze up. I get the ball passed to me. I have a wide open shot. I swing it to my teammate. They steal the ball. He subs me out. He's like, you're not ready to play. I was like, I'm not ready. I go to the bench and I'm just trying so hard not to cry. That night after the game, I told her and I was heartbroken. So I was heartbroken, and I was more so heartbroken because I didn't know what to tell her. And I knew that she wouldn't understand. And I broke things off and I told my mom, and she was like, I was praying for you. I was asking God to remove people who didn't need to be there. And I was like, wow, Mom, like, I didn't know you were praying for me. And like, God started to open up my eyes and just show me like, I don't need to dress like a guy. I don't need to shave my head. Like, God created me to be a woman for a reason. And I would never be happy unless I was living how God wanted me to live. So, I backslid a couple times because it was so hard when you're so used to something and you use it as a coping mechanism, or you just run to it every time you're hurt. When you don't have it anymore, you feel so tempted to go back. So I backslid a couple times, but every time I just felt so convicted. It felt like I was living a double life and I was like running from God. So finally, I was asking God, like, God, help me. Like, I don't want to be like this anymore. Like, I don't want to feel this. I just want to live in your will. And I just kept praying and praying. And then God revealed something to me that, this person that I had left, they were already, doing other things and moving on and stuff like that. And I was just like, I should have listened to God the first time. Like, this is what he was trying to save me from getting heartbroken, because this wasn't for me in the first place. So after that, I was heartbroken again. And I was just asking God for the strength to just help me to just leave it alone, to live for him. And God started putting godly people in my life to help me. I found this community of people who left the lifestyle, who are either struggling or trying to leave. And I would join Bible study, and I would watch other people's testimonies about how they left a relationship that they were in for a long time and how hard it was. And I felt like I wasn't alone anymore. Then God just started changing me, like the way I looked. I didn't like how I looked anymore. And I started to regret shaving my hair. I started to regret living in like a masculine lifestyle, dressing like a guy. And I started to throw my stuff away, my clothes away. God started changing me. I even used to like straighten my hair a lot, and I like damaged my natural curls. Like, God was showing me that, like, I made you this way for a reason. You don't need to change it. So I stopped straightening my hair. And I just started to regret living outside of his will. And then I found a peace that I was looking for my whole life after I fully surrendered to him and started living for him. So my life before Christ, my identity was rooted in sports and relationships. Now, God has changed my heart. My life now, I'm more caring for my family. I'm more appreciative of things. I'm more peaceful. I have a different outlook on life. I realize that I don't have to be angry. I don't have to act masculine, and that nothing else can fill that void that I was looking for but God. The area of my life that God is growing me in now is just truly seeking Him in everything that I do, whether it's careers, whether it's big life decisions, just to truly seek Him because His way is the best way. If someone were to ask me, why should I follow Jesus? I would tell them that nothing in this world can bring you peace, no matter how long you're chasing something for. It's going to be temporary. It's a temporary pleasure, enjoyment. The only thing that can fulfill you is Jesus, and Jesus will give that peace to anyone who seeks Him.